With all this beauty, one thing which really annoying me, well, I still don't understand it. With all this amazing thing, why I should be born? I'm not saying something against that. It was a beautiful form of life that I born in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And it was amazing life that nobody will ever imagine it until they born there and see it.
Yeah.
But I know I was born in that situation for this transaction to happen, but it was so much painful that from the age of 12, once they find out that I was not one of similar on the same path, one of my sisters will hold me from this hand, and one of my sister from this hand, and my mother, who was a little bit looked like Esther, would beat me. And it was not for one day, it was for years. In the end, they handed me over to these Al-Qaeda, which you guys call them a terrorist, and they trained me with those fear and anger for the rest of those life, which will trouble me to the rest of my life, and I don't know if I could ever come out of it. So what was the meaning of this life? Why should I choose such a shit life? Sorry for this word to say it. Because I was not came here to teach anybody something, or I don't know. It broke me to pieces.
This answer is going to feel trite to you. Not a big enough answer for this big question at first. But in the same way that when you are an athlete, you are always reaching for an environment where the most can be focused within you. In other words, if you are a tennis champion, you're not wanting to play with beginners. And even as a tennis champion, you're wanting to play with the best of them, because you are wanting to rise to increasing levels of understanding and accuracy and exhilaration. So powerful teachers often come forth into environments that are adverse, because out of that discomfort comes newfound desire. And once you are able to focus purely, you said you don't think you'll ever come out of it, but you will, purely upon the desires that you hold, not pushing back against what you have lived, but understanding that who you now are, magnificent, is a byproduct of what you lived, then off you go into what you really came forth to live. Esther discovered her first discomfort. Now, unlike you, she was born into a loving home. Nobody beat her. Her mother got the hairbrush out once and everyone laughed. In other words, there was no abuse of any kind. When Esther met Jerry, Jerry described a lot of physical and mental abuse from the early years. And yet Esther marveled that here they came together later in their lives, both of them at the same powerful place of wanting. Very different exposure to life experience. And so, unlike you, who very early in your life have come through the pain and into something more understanding or knowing, Esther discovered her great discord and discomfort very late in life with Jerry's reemergence into non-physical. In other words, she would have said to you prior to that she was unwilling to live anything that uncomfortable ever. She could see no possible value in anything that felt like that. But today she would not say those same words, because even though it is something completely unwanted and by her estimation utterly unnecessary, she has come to a stronger, clearer place, and ultimately, like you, will come through it completely into understanding all about it. So, generally speaking, if you can accept that nothing is for nothing, that everything is for something. You said what lesson did I have to learn? What is it about? And we say, no one's teaching you a lesson, but you came forth with powerful intention to come to a place of understanding, you see. Esther said, and this may soothe you, Esther said early in her interaction with us, and she would not have moved forward at all with it if it had not been for Jerry's eagerness about it, because Esther found it weird and unsettling in terms of how others may feel about it. But we explained to her on many occasions that there wasn't anything that she was assigned to do. It wasn't something that she was meant to do. In other words, desire is inspired from alignment, you see. And when you come into alignment and that desire is inspired, then it always feels right. There's not something that has been assigned to you. And Esther said to us, Abraham, once she got to know us and got to understand, Jerry was asking such good questions, and we were explaining about law of attraction and the process of deliberate creation and the art of allowing. And Esther said, Abraham, do you expect me to tell this to the world? And we said, no, sweet Esther, we are just telling you. And that's what we want you to understand too. In other words, this life experience is the life experience that you set into motion. You didn't come into your physical body, into that what you described as extraordinary place, not understanding what would be unfolding. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't bad karma. It was powerful, deliberate intent from a powerful genius creator who wanted to come into an environment where you could garner plenty of contrasting experience and launch so many powerful rockets early on in your experience, so that later you could figure out how to come into alignment with who you are in order to receive the fullness of all of those questions, you see. Will the world benefit from what you know, from who you are, from what you come to be? No question about it. But it's your call every step of the way, you see. Our work with you is to assist you into coming into alignment with who you are. And every process that we ever offer is about that and only that. Because we know it's not our job to tell you what's in your vortex, and it's not our job to assign the details of your grid, your point of attraction. It is only our job to assist you in coming into full alignment with who you are, because we understand that then all that you intended before you were born and all that you've garnered ever since will flow into your experience in the form of never-ending ideas and impulses, you see. It is not your role to push against anything that your birth country is about. It's not your job. It's not your job to defend them or to condemn them. It is your job to live happily ever after. It is your job to come into vibrational alignment with who you are. It is your job to come into harmony with all that you were before you were born and all that you evolved to ever since, you see. And it is our pleasure to let you know that all of that stuff that certainly you didn't want to live, all of it has contributed mightily to what's in your vortex. And as you begin more and more to consciously allow yourself to achieve vibrational harmony with who you are, and as those ideas flow into your experience, you will not have one regret about one of those beatings. First of all, because they're not happening now. Second of all, because they were never about what you thought they were about. In other words, the most significant thing that happened with all of that, and you know this for sure, within every one of those experiences, you knew for sure that you weren't wrong, didn't you? You always knew that you weren't wrong. In other words, they were never able to beat you into submission, into believing that you had no worth or no value. You always knew that was a powerful, integral part of who you are, you see. That's the most powerful part of this message, you see.
Thank you for bringing me here.
Have fun with all of this.